Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video. Today is going to be a little different. I am doing an in-depth VOD review of a match sent to me by Popoloko. They're one of my viewers and are playing Power Untamed using the far-sighted variant of the build, which is linked in the description below. Now, I haven't watched yet, so you will watch it with me for the first time. Popoloko says they are Plat 2 at the moment and are trying to climb to Plat 3. So since they are higher rated, I'm expecting to see cleaner gameplay and more impactful decision making. These VOD reviews are going to be very detailed, where I pick out things they could have done better and things they may already be doing very well. So let's get right into it. Start the match off here. I'm looking to see if they pull up the scoreboard and take a look at the team comp. Looks like they're going up against a Power Herald and a Power Untamed right now. Power Untamed's running Ferocious Symbiosis. They also have a Blade Sworn. So 3 power damage dealers on the enemy team. Also, in the top left, they have Discord notifications popping up. So in the video, I'm just going to put like an overlay over it. But going forward, hopefully we don't get submissions with extra stuff popping up on the screen. Anyways, here you guys don't have a support, so it's either Blade Sworn or Untamed taking home. Looks like the Blade Sworn splitting up to go and deal with that. Oh wait, okay, they just brought up the scoreboard for the first time. Let's see. So this is, both teams have a Herald's, fairly power damage oriented team here. 5 power damage dealers. Enemy team's got 1 condo damage dealer potentially and 4 power. They do have a support, so they have an advantage in the cannon fights. So your focus should be to get a kill or 2 before the cannon spawns. So when the 30-second timer comes up, you should be looking to like full down, full cleave out 1 or 2 people from the enemy team to make them weaker for the actual bell fight, and then just outnumber them there, quickly get some kills and stagger them, and that is how you guys win the objective. When they have a support, you do not. And I just want to double check. I don't think they pulled up the scoreboard earlier on because they were just busy fighting. Yeah, so in Plat, you really should take a look at the team comp before you get into a match and kind of just plan out how you want to approach the rotations and fights this game, but also like if you need to make any changes to your build, like if they're going like super heavy Condi, for example, you might want to put more condition clear in your builds. But yeah, okay, so first thing I notice immediately is they're playing very zoomed in. Some people like it like this. I guess you can kind of see the animations better. I prefer to zoom out more so that I can see what's going on around me. This feels very close to me. I'm not the biggest fan, but it's a personal preference thing. So they stack up stealth. Enemy team stacks up stealth as well. Now, here's the thing for the Drake. This pet swap to Drake doesn't really do anything here. Instead, what you end up doing is just revealing your position. The Drake is not in stealth, so they can literally just know where you are at the moment. Now, the enemy team also did the exact same thing. So what you would want to do playing Power Untamed is if you're going for the stealth here, right after you get your swoop off, just click on the blue arrow icon to stow your pet, and that way it stays invisible as you're pushing out. And now the pet swap to Drake is a little bit weird. I also prefer to start in smoke scale so that I get the Clarion Bond proc and like Moment of Clarity when I'm going for a burst. Now it's kind of like the other way around, where it's like, okay, if you decide now I'm going to go port in on someone and do a melee burst with Untamed, you're going to end up either pet swapping to smoke scale or wait for the Drake to run over to you to deal the damage, which is not ideal here. Enemy team's in stealth right now. You stealth off the smoke scale. Enemy Untamed also stealths. Okay, so this was bad immediately. You targeted a Guardian. They always have Aegis when they start the match. No one else hit the Aegis off of them. The very first thing you should do when picking a target is to look at like what boons they have on them. Also, just make sure you know what class they're going up against. You clicked on this person and used point blank shot so fast that you literally just, you could have seen the Aegis and stowed or held on to the cooldown. So that was a waste of the longbow for here. Now, here's another thing for the opener. Instead of just stealthing off the smoke scale again, if you know the Untamed just standing up here, because the pet won't walk up on its own unless the ranger is also here. The enemy ranger is also here. So you can literally just stand behind line of sight behind this box so they can't shoot you and just barrage on top of this. And that way you can hold on to your longbow 3 because 3 seconds of extra stealth here doesn't really do anything when your team is also revealed. The only thing the stealth does is prevent them from jumping on you from stealth, which you can avoid with good positioning and just not putting yourself in the middle here, which you did because you went in stealth. So see what the enemy ranger did? They barraged. That's what I would have done, but I would have done it from behind line of sight. Now again, not a big fan of the point blank shot there. Auto attacks are fine.
The dock's been captured.
So most people at the start of the match, when they start getting attacked, they'll usually use a defensive skill. So here, I probably wouldn't have gone for the rapid fire and smoke assault into takedown. The takedown you could have stowed because this person was evading when you pressed it. So you see, you swap to smoke skill, the rapid fire is going off. They're already evading and you have time to stow the F1 to cancel it so your pet doesn't waste the cooldown, but you don't. So here, like, I would have just auto attacked the mesmer, wait for an evade to go out, and then after the evade frame ends, that's when you rapid fire swap to smoke skill, smoke assault, and then you decide whether or not you want to full cast the takedown or not. Now here your positioning is also really weird. If the enemy team was a bit more coordinated, you would get jumped on really hard standing in the middle like this. If you're playing ranged, which you are, you're on longbow right now, you don't need to be this close. You're basically like melee to mid-range at the moment with majority of the enemy team. When you're playing a weapon that has 1500 range, you want to play at basically like the maximum distance you're able to without getting just line of sighted by everything. So here I would probably be much farther back than you are right now, because if you're playing in this range, you should just be in greatsword. It's more effective in this range. You shouldn't be meleeing with the longbow generally. Yeah, now the other thing is the targeting is a little bit weird. This person's actually not playing support guardian. So if they were running Signet of Mercy, I would focus the guardian first. However, they are not playing support, so this is fine here. Okay, so the unleashed pet skills are good here because it strips the focus 5 immediately off the I guess this is a DPS guardian. Okay, this is a lot of wasted cooldowns though. So going for a greatsword ambush is fine. However, I would probably throw the maul out first because the maul is a lower cooldown. And you're not like porting in for a big burst here. So if you're not sure as to whether they still have defensives up, because you can see they still have F3, F2, F1, chances are whatever skill you're going to use, because this person has 3 people on them right now, he's probably going to pop all, this person's probably going to pop all of their virtues. So he's going to get Aegis, protection, going to cleanse the condies on him, and is going to blind everyone in an AoE, assuming this person is Radiant. So you're investing a longer cooldown here when I would just kind of stay around like here and just try to clip them with the maul and then see what they do from there. And now what you do here instead is you greatsword ambush, maul, and swoop, and put all those cooldowns basically into their shelter heal. So this person actually just popped their F3. But you look, you trade 1, 2, the swoop connects. But your big damage skills don't do anything because you rushed it and weren't patient with to wait and see what the enemy was going to do. So that was definitely not the best use of your cooldowns. Now if you just had waited to see what they were going to like press, because you already have 2 of your teammates on this one person, they're going to pressure the cooldowns, the guardian's obviously going to react, and then you punish them after they react, and that's how you generate a lot of value really quickly. The hilt bash is fine. This person dodges. See, now in that situation there, this person would have already been dead if you had been more patient, because you pop the focus 5, your teammates jump on them, they're going to pop shelter immediately. You can stow your maul. You can't stow the greatsword ambush because it'll just go on full cooldown, but you can stow a maul. So when you see like the shelter pop up, you can just stow your maul. The swoop was wasted there. I wouldn't recommend using swoop for damage. You should just auto attack. Save swoop for escaping or stealthing generally, maybe chasing if it's completely safe to chase. Again, the hilt bash is good and you connect your maul through it, but after the evade, if you had not thrown out your greatsword ambush, you could have greatsword ambushed them after their evade and just have the smoke scale proc the Aegis off or one of your teammates. Now they invuln. Now here's a position where you're far away, you don't have port up, but you do have weapon swap to longbow, and your teammates are pressured. So here, instead of walking out with greatsword, I would have already been in longbow and been like barraging this area to try to slow the people that are chasing my teammates down. So yeah, there's no way you can port to that. You can't impact this fight with the greatsword. Now, the rapid fire is not the best thing you could have done to peel people off. When it comes to saving your teammates on a damage spec, prioritize using crowd control on whoever's the most threatening to your teammates. So, for example, this Herald jumping on your Willbender is likely going to get the kill because the Herald's full HP and then the Willbender is very low. So what you would want to do here would be to crowd control the Herald off and spike them either really hard or or just CC them off. Now for the rest of the people chasing after them, your next like plan of action would be to slow everyone down. So you have a good tool for that with your barrage here. You should just barrage and try to hit as many people as you can to make it harder for them to chase your teammates. The rapid fire doing 3k damage isn't going to deter the Heralds because this Willbender is 15% HP. They're going to die in literally an attack or two. So you would have to spike them really hard and either threaten a kill on them or just get them off another way, which would be like your point blank shot. Now they're a little bit farther, so this is why it's important to like be quicker about the decision making. I would have already been in longbow and been barraging this area here, and that would have slowed down these people, and maybe you could have connected your point blank shot. But this is out of range of the PBS at this point. Again, you're kind of not playing your effective ranges very well on longbow, so like you stealth here, and instead of like walking up the stairs where you get line of sight and you can just auto people for max range, you're stealthing and then walking into melee without your weapon swap available. So this is a little weird. Okay, so that barrage doesn't do anything, right? Barrage is fairly easy to walk out of. I mean, people can see you start the animation, and then before they even see the red circle on the ground, they can walk out of it. So you see this Herald just didn't even want to walk up there. But there's so many people in this choke here. This would have been perfect to barrage, but barrage is also a pretty far range, so you literally could have sat back here and barrage. You don't need to stealth here, by the way. No one's looking at you. The stealth doesn't do anything. Save stealth for like disengaging or repositioning or something like that. Like just randomly stealthing doesn't add that didn't add any value. Like this one, the Gunsaber 3 is coming at you. You just dodge it once. But yeah, I don't know. Now again, the barrage here is weird. I would have barraged on top of everyone. Now your teammate's very resable right now. No one's cleaving the downed body, so your teammate's going for res, everyone just gets knocked back. Like you could probably hold that. And then okay, so this was also that was just not good. Yeah, you could have held the body here, and then when the enemy goes for cleave, you just super hard counter pressure in melee range, you just burst them really hard. That's one way to get a lot of value when everyone's stacked up. But here's bad. So you have target on the rev. And then you pop your elite, and then they have their glint heal up, and then did you stow your maul there? If you stowed your maul, that was good because I think it only went on 3-second cooldown. Yeah, you stowed it. Okay, excellent. That was good. That was good. If you full committed those cooldowns, that wouldn't have been good. Now again, the swoop there is a little awkward. So if you are going to swoop aggressively like that, make sure you're evading an attack. Otherwise, it's just better to hold on to it, because if you get jumped on after, you only have your greatsword 4. If the enemy has an unblockable CC, you literally just die afterwards. Like there's no way for you to live if they're focusing you. So miss the knock. Now here is a good time to stealth. So if you wanted to reposition here really quickly and move to somewhere else, that's when I would have swapped to longbow and longbow 3'd and then moved somewhere else. Standing up here is okay. Got the down on the blade sworn, get the stealth off, going for hand res on your teammate. Wow, that was really close. That could have definitely gone either way. Yeah, your teammate hit like 2% HP, maybe even like 1% at one point. So while you're cleaving this, you actually could have gone down because they have 3 DPS players on you right now. I would have probably popped Protect Me just for the extra damage reduction from protection as well as the barrier. That would have definitely helped mitigate a good chunk of the damage you took. Popping the mutate conditions there doesn't do anything either. You don't have any impactful conditions on you that are going to kill you. You have like a stack of, literally a stack of Confusion and Torment that are both about to expire anyways. And they're mostly power damage, so Protect Me would have been much more effective to use there. If you want to get value out of your barrage here and point blank shot instead of just swapping to melee when you have those CDs available, you could have hopped up on like the ledges and then barraged a little bit just to slow everyone down and then point blank shot someone back. That's melee, right? So if let's say this is the blade sworn or herald, I can't tell right now, and they're on your teammate, knocking them really far away is more effective. Like, and it would be very effective to do before you swap to greatsword. So I have a feeling you're probably going to swoop a lot here because every single time you jump in melee, you end up just swooping right after the maul. That knock is good. That's a good kill. So this person's already feared. If they don't have stun break, they die. So that was a pretty quick kill. That was clean. Now, okay, so the timing was weird here. This is why I say when I'm playing Untamed that the timing for when you press chomp is very important. So if we watch this in slow motion, okay, that dodge doesn't do anything. So don't burn or dodge there. Like, yeah, there's literally no value in that dodge. But you go for the Greatsword 4, and then you hit the knock. And then you immediately pet swap, and then go into chomp. But the chomp hits before the maul does, which is not good because you lost a 25% damage modifier on the chomp there. So chomp just hit, and then the maul hits afterwards. So the maul was the second hit there. If this person had more defense or more HP or any defensive cooldown, if they weren't low, losing that extra like 2,000 to 3,000 damage is very impactful here. So when you are going for a quickness chomp, you're going to want to delay the chomp, delay the press of the chomp by about a quarter second. So you want to make sure that the chomp ends right after the maul ends, not the other way around. Now here the cleave is fine because the ranger, you don't want to leave a ranger to self-res, but I probably wouldn't commit the tail swipe to that. You could just leave your pet to auto attack, and then once you get farther away, just cast the full barrage on the downed body, and then go for a few autos or whatever if you think it's still necessary, but your teammates can finish that off. Yeah, you guys won a solid, I think it was a 3v3 at home, which was great there. It could have gone either way if the Reaper got rallied instead. Now going mid here is fine. You can quickly get a 2v1 and keep the snowball going. That's perfect. Now if your teammate's fine in the 1v1 or like they're winning it, going to decamp far here is not a bad decision either. However, with your teammate still technically 3v1ing the Revenant at home with the respawns coming, I think the safest play here is just to make sure that Guardian dies mid before the enemy team gets back.
The dock's been captured.
So you can see immediately when you look at the Guardian's boon bar down here that they have their F1 and F2 available, but they don't have F3. So that means one of their stun breaks or potentially sources of stab is not available to them, which is a good sign for you.
Dock's been captured.
Okay, that point blank shot was really bad. You see this person pop the focus 5 block, and then so you auto attack once, which is good. And then instead of stowing the point blank shot when they focus 5, you commit the point blank shot into the block. Going for the rapid fire is good here. I like that you actually like. I'm not a fan of like backpedaling, but putting extra space, like taking advantage of the range you get with longbow, is ideal. You could actually be standing much farther back than you actually are. This is still actually within the Bladesworn's range. If they want to like Dragon Trigger 3 you or Axe 3 or just leap to you, you're going to have to like basically play melee against a Bladesworn, which you don't generally want to do if you can avoid it. So from literally back here, what I would have done instead is I would have just kept I would have barraged first, and then I would have just kept auto attacking, maybe throw out a rapid fire. Because against Guardians, they have Aegis, maybe they have other sources of blocks. So what you want to do is just use any of your multi-hit abilities or anything that's not an impactful single hit like point blank shot or longbow 3. You generally don't want to target Guardians with those unless you're sure that it's not going to get blinded or Aegised by the enemy. So here I would have just sat back. I would have barraged. Maybe you can hop up here and just keep auto attacking and just wait to see what happens. So that investment of point blank shot was not ideal. Okay, so this is really big here, right? So when you're going for a knockdown, you should expect the enemy person to stun break if you haven't seen them stun break already. So what the enemy Bladesworn does right now is they stun break with Shake It Off, and then they randomly dodge because they're not actually dodging any impactful skills. Immediately after this, I would have probably hilt bash and then gone for a melee burst because the Bladesworn wouldn't be able to stun break for the next like 4 seconds. So during that time frame, you can counter pressure them really hard. Now, there's a few other things here that you could have done better, and that actually might have resulted in a kill on the Bladesworn. So let's go over that really quickly. First things first, you used your smoke scale F1, the takedown, to get that stun break out of the way. If you had not committed your point blank shot into the Guardian, you could have actually gotten the stun break out of the way with your point blank shot. That way, after the enemy Bladesworn stun breaks and dodges, you port in with hilt bash, you maul them, and then you have your smoke scale use takedown to keep them CC'd and stun lock them for a potential kill. Now, the other reason, or the other thing you could have done to get more damage off there is to not enter combat with Drake. So if you had entered combat with smoke scale instead, that would have been ideal because then you can set up the knockdown with your smoke scale into the CC combo, and you swap to Drake for like a big burst here. So what you can do here instead of just immediately jumping into this fight is if you want to start in smoke scale, you chill for another 4 seconds to wait till you get your smoke scale back up. And smoke scale is better into the Guardian anyways because the multi-hit from Smoke Assault will proc the Aegis better, like with the barrage. Yeah, so here I would have been in smoke scale. I would have used the Smoke Assault to strip the focus 5, maybe like rapid fire this target, point blank shot this person, the Bladesworn, auto attack them. If they stun break and dodge, I immediately go for the hilt bash into a takedown here, and then I would go like maul, pet swap. Tail swipe's not up because you used it to cleave the down body, so you took one of your biggest damaging skill to quickly cleave someone that was already downed. You could have like gone for like a tail swipe into chomp, and that probably would have killed the Bladesworn here. So the barrage here is fine. Now that's not ideal either. The longbow ambush is not. It's not great. I mean, I don't think you could have known they would have committed Aegis to that. I actually don't even know where they got Aegis from, to be honest. Unless the Guardian used retreat. So generally speaking, I prefer to use Greatsword Ambush instead of Longbow. Now, the reason why you do that is because the Greatsword Ambush just hits harder. I generally save the Longbow Ambush for sniping someone far away if I'm trying to do a big burst of damage to them and pick up a kill. Yeah, that gets Aegis. You don't get much value off of it. I actually don't know why the maul didn't connect there. Hold on. Let me look at that. So you go for a maul. I don't know, where did that go? I'm so confused. Oh, did you stow it? I think yeah, that's a weird stow then. I mean, that one didn't hit either. Yeah, you that's strange. I don't know why you stowed the maul there. That would have just been free damage if you had landed it. Yeah, you stowed the maul, hilt bash connects. So now this person jumped up onto the boxes there. If you wanted the maul to connect, you should jump during the maul cast. Because it might look like the bear comes from above, but realistically, the attack is actually fairly like it doesn't have much verticality to the attack, so you pretty much hit what's on the same level as you. When you're going for this maul, I definitely wouldn't have stowed it. The hilt bash was excellent here. Now I would have mauled and like jumped up for the cast. So this is why like following people when they're going up and down like terrain is very important, because that you could have downed the Guardian and the Bladesworn both in this fight here, I think. Now this Guardian should die either way, but he didn't really have much of an impact on that kill. And this Bladesworn shouldn't be here either, to be honest. They also should have been dead. The cooldown usage was a little bit better earlier in the fight. Okay, now here is something you should definitely pay attention to. Your Bladesworn pushed far. No one's watching your home right now, but you guys have a solid cap on your home, so it's actually fine to play 3 nodes here. With that being said, this Untamed is splitting off to your home, and you do not want your Herald to take that 1v1, so you matching this is a good rotation.
The bazaar is yours.
Okay, you know, that wasn't a bad hilt bash. So the combo actually missed, but the timing on it was fine. So you can see the Untamed here uses their Greatsword 4. They dodge once, they Greatsword 4, they pet swap to Drake. Tail swipe goes off, they're probably going to Greatsword 4 counterattack, and you try to hit them with the hilt bash after the counterattack. So that's actually not bad. Like going for a melee combo like after an enemy defensive skill is perfectly fine. Unfortunately, they still had another dodge up, and the combo missed. Now, you still might have been able to land the combo if you timed it like slightly better. So the timing wasn't bad, but you should really... Okay, so right now, when you see them start the Greatsword 4 animation, that is when you should be going for your hilt bash. Now, you waited until after the Greatsword 4 evade completely ended before going for the hilt bash, so that actually gives them time to evade afterwards. Now, so the timing on that, it could have been slightly better, but that slightly better might have resulted in you actually landing the hilt bash there and forcing either another stun break or a potential kill because you have pet swap the Drake up. And I believe your tail swipe should be up as well, because I don't think you used it earlier because you ended up swapping to smoke scale. So yeah, I think general priority for the pet swap should be pair smoke scale with longbow when you can, and then pair Drake with greatsword, because smoke scale works pretty well with longbow as like something that can track people through their movement through rapid fire and smoke assault, whereas Drake has better performance in melee because it's just a melee oriented pet, so it's better when paired with your greatsword for the burst. That you're kind of doing it a little backwards right now, where you're in smoke scale and greatsword and then Drake and longbow, and there's just really not that much synergy there. Now, another thing you could have done if you haven't seen the Untamed commit any cooldowns yet, because the Untamed basically just circled the long way around, right? Yeah, the Untamed circled the long way around. They were basically just sitting back with longbow, so it's reasonable to assume they have both dodges up. Now, so they use one dodge here, then they go for the Greatsword 4, and then you could have maybe connected the hilt bash afterwards. They go for another evade. Now, because you could have assumed that they had both evades up, you could have waited for them to evade the second time before going for your burst, in which case, Greatsword 4 is down. They have no more evades. I mean, what are they going to do? They're going to have to stun break if you land the CC from the hilt bash on them, and if they don't have any stun breaks, they just die. Now that button press is a little strange. Did you press F2? No, okay, it just went for the chomp. So the thought behind the combo was good, but the execution could have been a little bit better. This person ends up going down anyways.
Be ready to give the signal.
The rapid fire is fine there.
The cannons are loaded.
You could have also like point blank shot first. That would have prevented them from like using any other skills, but it's okay. This person just gets 100'd. Okay, so now here's the thing: when stealth stomping a ranger as a ranger, this person can thunderclap, and thunderclap's an AoE. So that's a downstate 2 skill. That's a ranged daze. If their pet is like farther away, you can set your pet to them so they can't target your pet in stealth. Or if they have any enemies, you know, within range that you can target, you can select them and send your pet away. Because you don't, like, even though you're in stealth right now, if this ranger targets your pet, or honestly the rev's standing pretty close to you as well, and uses thunderclap, this gets interrupted. He doesn't go for the thunderclap though, and your rev was just going for cleave anyways. So cannons are coming up, which is good because you guys basically picked up, I think, 2 kills. Although it's actually really unfortunate that 2 of your teammates also went down at mid. That means it's pretty much, wait, if the Guardian died, I think the Guardian died. Oh, let me double check. The Guardian went down, right? Yeah, the Guardian died. So it's basically an even 3v3. However, so it's an even 3v3 for the cannon fight. However, you guys have position here because you guys are standing basically at the bell right now and are blocking off the road coming to the bell. So the enemy team is basically going to have to walk through 2 or 3 of you guys to contest the objective. And you have longbow. So you sitting back here is pretty good. You guys have control of the map. Enemy's going for a cap at mid right now. It's 3v3, which means if they want to take an even fight at mid and push that 3v3, you guys are going to have a double cap ticking the entire time, which is nice. Now, if they wanted to like contest 2v3 to get decaps on the map, that is also something they can do, in which case you would prioritize wiping them at cannons as fast as possible so that the person decapping would end up pushing into a 1v3 as a result of them going for like a decap on one or both of the nodes. Okay, now that barrage is not ideal. And this person's fairly far away. They actually just straight up stopped moving here. I would have just like not even gone for the cast of barrage. This doesn't do anything. I'm not a huge fan of running up the stairs here because cannons are coming up in 10 seconds. I mean, the better thing to do would be to just stay up here, keep DPSing the heralds when they're on stairs. Now, if they swap to Shiro and you're up top, they can port to you. So what you want to do is either play like a no port spot around here or position yourself in a way that when the herald goes for a port on you, they actually port below the platform. Now they have 2 ports because they also have sword 5, so you have to do that twice. Once you get both ports out of the way, you can basically contest cannon for free. Yeah, I don't know. No one's on cannon right now, and your herald should be okay, even though there's like 2 people in roads, so I would have just still been on cannon. Now here's another thing. So this barrage was bad, right? So if you didn't commit the barrage cooldown, if you really wanted to drop down but like stay close enough to the bell that you can just run up to it in time for cannon, you literally you should stop where you are right now. And if you want to help out your teammate, that is when you barrage in the back. And you can hit 2 people with the barrage and slow them down while you head back up and sit on the cannon. And your herald should be able to create some additional distance with the help of the cripple from your barrage. Now this isn't ideal because you're also like giving up your position, and now like the enemy is free capping cannons. Like this trade is really weird as well. You just see, I'm okay. This is probably going to happen a lot. I'm gonna point it out every time, and I'm not gonna spend too long in it. You're starting in Drake again. which means you're not getting like the value of the melee burst when you want the melee burst. So like you're in combat, you swap to smoke skill, and then yeah, I mean this person's already. I mean you haven't seen the heralds commit any defensive cooldowns really, except for like a dodge. So I mean they still have like swap to staff up and all that. You want to make sure those defensive cooldowns are out of the way before you commit stuff like your hilt bash and all that. Now the F2 and swoop were fine there because you actually got like value out of your swoop, so the damage didn't connect, but you get stealth off, which is nice for repositioning. But since you left the cannon, now the enemy is just getting like a quarter tap on it free at the moment. You don't have port to go and contest it either, so by the time you walk up, the bell is going to be half capped already in favor of the enemy team. Also, this elite wasn't great because you don't have port anyways. No one's looking at you, no one's on you right now. You're not taking any damage. That random dodge doesn't do anything either. I would really advise against randomly dodging, especially before a big team fight. I mean, the Great Sword 4 is fine there.
They've taken the bazaar from you.
Okay, so that trade was also pretty messy. Now, if you really wanted to use your elite there, which is honestly fine for like a cannon fight, like a fight for an objective, just use it when you're like safe but about to walk into the fight. So like right here, like running up the stairs would be a good time to cast it. That way you get like the full duration out. But another thing you could have done is, since your herald actually or your warrior actually got to the node here, you could have sat back and then gone for a barrage first on the node, and then just done some range damage while your warrior contests the objective, because you don't need multiple people to stand on it. That Great Sword 4 doesn't hit anything at all. It's kind of a waste of the knockback and the evade. I don't even think, did the Mirage break target, or you didn't have them targeted? So you don't have them targeted because they stealthed here. I would have held on to the Great Sword 4, but also you just don't have target. That auto attack is doing anything. The Maul gets dazed by Chaos Storm. Now here's another thing, just quick positioning wise. You see the Untamed here. You should have immediately just backed up. Like you don't want to about face if they're looking to burst on you. Instead, what you want to do is just face in the direction of the Untamed. You see the Untamed approaching from all the way over here. And the Great Sword 4 was wasted, but you see the Untamed approaching, so you just want to look in the Untamed's direction. That way when they port on you, they just daze you with the hilt bash instead of a stun, because it only stuns if they hit you from the back or the sides. Okay, so to be safe here, I would just look in the direction of the Untamed. That way you avoid getting jumped on by the burst. Now that dodge was not a good dodge. The pet unleash skills don't do anything really. Like they don't do any damage for the most part. It's not going to take a chunk out of your HP. So dodging that is worthless. And then you had time to react to the Maul, to be honest, but you don't. It's like here I would have dodged that. But now okay, so that's another bad dodge. All the dodges here are just really bad value. You get hit by the burst and then dodge. You never want to dodge after you eat all the damage, because it doesn't like do anything. You either avoid the damage or you save your dodge for a follow-up that could kill you. Now if you were like let's say like 1k HP and like 1 or 2 attacks could kill you, that dodge would have been fine to create distance, but yeah, that wasn't ideal. Now that's also a bad longbow 3, because this person has Aegis. One thing I'm noticing for the longbow skills is that they often get blocked, and that's because you're not paying attention to what classes you're going up against, and you're not checking to see if the enemies, you're just not checking to see if the enemies even have Aegis on them before you go and use skills like longbow 4 and 3. Like if the Mirage Chaos Storms here, there's a chance they have Aegis on them, or they're running a build with potentially multiple sources of Aegis if they're like Prismatic Understanding. The Untamed actually, like the enemy Untamed actually like just straight up falls off there, which is pretty crazy because I don't even think you were really trying to juke them, but yeah, they straight up walked off the edge. So that's pretty funny. I mean, you could have gone for like a bait there. They probably would have fallen for it, but I guess they didn't need to. But that's more like them misplaying as opposed to you forcing them to fall off or making it more likely that they fall off there. Again, not a big fan of the just throwing out the longbow 3 without checking to see if your target has something that stops the longbow 3 from going off. Now the point blank shot was good. This pushes them away from the heal mirror, so I'm okay with yeah, that longbow 4 is fine. The longbow ambush is fine as well. However, you actually don't need to drop down for it really. If you're going for a tick on the decap for the objective, that's fine. So if that's why you were doing it, that's fine. However, I don't know if you were purposefully trying to neutralize this node and like trying to get it more into your team's favor, as opposed to just like you just walking up to use the longbow ambush there, because it looks like you run past the edge of the capture node. So I feel like you were just running up for damage as opposed to like staying for, you know, ticks on the cap, because you could literally just stand on the edge here if you wanted to like neutralize it completely. That's a really messy use of cooldowns too. So one of the things you need to keep in mind, a few things actually, is if your teammates are standing on the cap, you don't have to. When your teammates use some defensive cooldowns, you see them pop it, or you see them dodge, and then like kite off node, that's when you should step on, because that means your teammate needs some space from the enemies, and that's when you can get on to the cap and like use some of your defensive cooldowns. Now the other thing is, you see someone coming from your right here. There is a blade sworn walking up the stairs at the moment, and instead of looking in their direction and trying to keep as many, trying to like position your camera in a way that like you can see all of the enemy team, you're basically just looking at the Mirage right now. And I don't think it's been, let me see. Yeah, it hasn't been 20 seconds since the Untamed bursted you, so you don't really need to look in the direction of the Untamed very much. Your priority, because this person was in greatsword, should be to line of sight them when they're coming up, but look in the direction of the Mirage and the Bladesworn. So positioning wise, I actually would have probably put myself like on these boxes right about where you are right now, but I would be behind them, because this way you can still pop out, get the longbow ambush off on the Mirage. Your warrior, your Bladesworn, will get the tick on the decap here. You will be line of sighting the ranger when they come back up, and then the Bladesworn, you can see if they're using any important skills. So that's why like camera positioning and also just the positioning of your character is really important. So this person, the Mirage on the enemy team jaunted, and then they're walking into their mirror. So you know they have this mirror up. The rapid fire isn't really going to do that much. Longbow ambush is good, but after the jaunt, stow. Like you don't need to hit them right now. Like you should be really paying attention to like some other stuff. So you end up getting clipped by the dragon trigger there, which is not ideal. You know, the funny thing is, so you would have gotten stunned for a very long time, except the enemy point blank shot actually knocked you out of the stun of the dragon trigger. So this, the ranger actually potentially saved you here, because if this was I don't think it was a charged dragon trigger. Let me see, they're coming up the stairs now. They're probably just starting the channel now. So this would have stunned you for like, I don't know, still less than a second, but the point blank shot knocks you out of the stun. So this is why positioning is important. If you had positioned where I said this point blank shot wouldn't have connected on you, you still would have dealt the damage to Mirage, and you wouldn't have eaten the dragon trigger, because you would see them channeling, and hopefully you would have reacted with an evade for it. But instead, you're committing like a rapid fire into the Mirage, which isn't going to connect because they jaunted. Then you eat the dragon trigger that you didn't see coming because you didn't position your camera properly, and you eat the point blank shot. That was a strange, unnatural traversal either, because this port is only used for barrier at the moment, and it doesn't really save you from damage. So this, the warrior is basically in melee range right now. If you really wanted to save yourself, I don't know if you go down here, but you could have targeted the Untamed instead. So target the Untamed here, port to them, and then immediately like either dodge roll down the stairs and then like try to to continue line of sighting the ranger, and then swoop like behind line of sight here while your warrior contests the node, and you get some of your cooldowns back. I guess what you do here, like I think you kind of get out. Oh, you end up going down here. Okay. So your line of sight after you use the unnatural traversal, like this, so the swoop there, because I think you got immobilized too. The swoop is actually fine. Yeah, you got immobilized here. The swoop is fine, and then the dodge roll over the boxes is fine. However, where you messed up and where you could live longer is you should play under the wall here, if that's where you're going to line of sight to prevent the ranger from shooting you. Instead, because you walk out in the open, now you're just eating the longbow autos. You also aren't looking in the direction of where the damage would be coming from. So you don't even know like what the ranger's doing right now. You don't know how many people are chasing you. You don't know what skills they're using. This is why about face is really important. Actually, and I noticed this earlier at the mid fight. You're actually using the look behind keybind. I would heavily recommend using about face. Now, one of the benefits of about face is that like you control your character's movement, but your camera position stays the same, which means I can pan my camera around this way so that my camera is turned towards the cannon here while I'm running away. And that's good, perfect, because now I can see what the enemies are doing, whether they're chasing me or not, whether they're going to do range damage or not. Now, again, I would have stayed under the wall here. So if someone drops on you, you can like maul your dodges coming up so you can dodge and maybe like hilt bash their follow-up, or you could just go for the hilt bash right away if they're dropping on top of you with an attack. That would have kept you alive a little bit longer, especially if they're all right here right now. You can see them all right here. If you drop down and immediately went to this side here, so now you play this wall, because the enemies can't jump over this box. They can't jump from the ground to the top of this box, so they would have to go around, or they would have to come around this way. Either way, you're creating more distance, and if they're following you from this side, you can kite up, and then when they kite up as well, you can drop back down. A bunch of stuff you could have done. You could also like maybe kite behind here, although I probably would have gone up and over and continued line of sighting. Now here the timing's not ideal. You dodged after you got hit because you're not looking to see if they're actually attacking you, but like either way, like maybe a dodge could have saved you. Another thing is you could have hugged the wall a little bit better. Now if you had like gone in a straight line here as opposed to like kind of, because you're swinging wide on this in the open, right? And they have range, like a range damage dealer from the ranger, so that's not ideal. What you want to do is like hug this really tight. That dodge, if you had dodged along the edge here, that might have put you behind line of sight to maybe save you. So you end up going down here. I guess they're going for cleave? Okay, the rangers went for stealth stomp. Bladesworn's going to contest mid. Now your teammate's getting 1v2. So there was a lot of stuff you could have done better to potentially live or get more value, or gotten kills quicker so that your teammates like maybe wouldn't have gone down at mid before cannon fight came up.
Swift and steady.
Okay, so you don't need to actually go to the cannon right now because it's pretty much completely newt, and your teammates are 2v1ing the ranger there because the enemy Bladesworn decided to go to mid instead, I think. Yeah, enemy Bladesworn's here. So now this is a 3v2. If you commit to this fight, it is a 3v2. It is a 2v1 at the cannon. What I would do instead is push for a decap at far right here. Or if you don't, if someone is watching far for whatever reason, someone on the enemy team's watching far, what you do is you position yourself in the middle of these two fights so you can help either one if necessary, or split for decap at far. Okay, that point blank shot doesn't do anything. And again, starting a Drake, not a big fan, but I feel like this is going to keep happening this game. Okay, so yeah, you target this guy. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the point blank shot there. That's out of range. You need to know the ranges of your skills. Point blank shot is a shorter range than other longbow skills. So if you go skill by skill here, it's 1500 range, 1500 range, 1500 range, 1200 range, 1500 range. So the point blank shot is shorter range. 1200 is, if you were to stand right about here, that would be about 1200 range. You're slightly out of that. Slightly, but still out of range. You could have looked at your bar too. So you see like this has a red bar under it, and then like right as you walk in, this is pretty much what I said, is like then now you're in range of the point blank shot. Right here it's still red, and then I said slightly out of range, so you walk like 2 steps farther and now it's in range. Now your teammate's also dead here. Now I personally would have barraged this first. Just even like a tick on the barrage is a little bit of extra damage and cripple, which could also help your teammate survive. He is likely going to go down anyways. And then you hilt bash unnatural traversal. You get the stun off. Go for the maul. Now the maul actually connects before you get blinded. However, that is not like ideal for you. It's not like you played that particularly well because the enemy herald just didn't use the facet of darkness in time to blind the follow-up. So you got lucky the damage landed there. That's basically what I'm trying to say. And again, not a huge fan of the swap to smoke scale for the melee burst. You're kind of doing these combos a little backwards because the pet swaps are all just wonky. Alright, now that was also very awkward. So once this person dodges off, you make the decision. You either go for the res on your teammate or you cleave the downed body. Now the enemy downed from the Blade Sworn is lower than your teammate's HP, so I would have just gone for cleave here really fast. Now if you were in Drake, that would have been even easier because the melee burst from like a tail swipe or a chomp would have hit the down body as well, and you also have the other 2 pet skills that you haven't used yet to now also go and cleave the down body out really quickly. So here, like, it's kind of like just you get knocked down and then you decide to go for cleave. Greatsword ambush doesn't crit. This person vengeances. You miss your longbow 3. Cancel the barrage early. Now you really like protect me. So like all of your cooldowns kind of just went out the window, and it nothing like even happened there for you to actually like. You just get no value out of it. That was a weird mutate conditions too, because like you're not even. You use it like look you're standing up right now, like your character's basically on their feet, and then you mutate conditions. That doesn't do anything. Yeah, that is a strange exchange. The swoop again, don't commit swoop for damage. It's like one of the best defensive tools you have on Greatsword. This person vengeances. When people like get up from downstate, they're invulnerable for like a second. So now that this person vengeances, your focus should immediately shift to not letting your teammate get cleaved out or stomped. So you don't really have the cooldowns here to go and drop. I mean, you can hand res it. That's fine. You could also sit up here and get your full barrage off before you hand res. Another thing you could do, your smoke scale, you had your smoke scale like follow the rev here. So the rev's kiting away right now and your smoke scale is running over. But this person vengeances. I would have called the pet back immediately. And then I would F2 here and then unleash the pet and then F2 again to like blast stealth for your teammate's down body while you commit to the res. Now that gets CC'd. Okay, so that was actually, wait, that was perfect. That is exactly what you should have done. I don't know if you did that on purpose, but the longbow auto attack into the point blank shot got rid of the Aegis. So he has a stack of Aegis on him, strips the Aegis, and then you go for point blank shot to interrupt the stomp, and then you go for res here. Perfect. And you guys 2v1s the cannon for a while as well. You were taking like a 3v2 here. I guess it's fine that you stayed because your teammates might have lost this. They would have probably lost the 2v2. However, still positioning wise, like I said earlier, I would have probably put myself right here in between all 3 of these, because this would have let you help the cannon if necessary, would have let you get the decap if necessary, or if your teammate went down, which he did, then it would also put you in range to help them. So that is where I would have positioned myself. Now, if your teammates were like fine in the 2v2, maybe they were winning, you positioning yourself here would have let you split off for the decap at far because your team won the 2v1 at cannon. And then, like, you know, if your teammates needed help here, you could have gone here. Like, there's a lot of stuff you could have done if you position yourself right here. So that is something to keep in mind going forward. The res here is really good, though. This is ideal. You're at a fight that you needed to be in. That is perfect. Oh, it hurts me every time I see the swoop get committed like that. Okay, the maul into chomp was fine there. I think the chomp still connected before the maul did. Let me see. Yeah, the maul hit before the chomp hit. So again, slow the chomp timing down a little bit. Because you and your pet are casting it with quickness right now. And then if you look at the maul cooldown, or the cast time for the maul, it's 3/4 of a second. But then the cast time for the chomp is half a second. So this comes out a 1/4 second sooner than your maul. So you don't want to press them at the same time. You always want to delay the chomp timing slightly. Now here, instead of hitting for, let's say, what was this? I think it's... Okay, so that was almost a 7k maul. And then a 4.4k chomp. This could have been like a 6k chomp and a 7k maul, which would have brought this guardian pretty much within auto attack range of death. Just 1 or 2 autos would have done the trick there. Soup. Oh, okay. That's really not good either. You know this guy's running shelter. You haven't seen him use it yet, so dumping the swoop into the block is bad. But when you see that getting blocked, oh man, going for the hilt bash, unnudged traversal into the shelter there after you knew he was in his heal. Yeah, that's really bad, because now your port's on a 40-second cooldown. Now they have respawns coming, so you're not going to be able to keep the snowball going as well as you could have if you had just waited until the shelter ended before doing that. Okay, rotating out here is fine because it's a 3v1 in mid and your teammates are chasing, so matching numbers is really important. Your teammates honestly could have just like 2v1 this or something if they're really pushing for a kill. This is fine, but then after they get the down, 1 or 2 of them needs to like split off, help control far as well. You splitting off far here is good rotation. This is good. See, now because because you wasted your swoop into the shelter there, you actually don't have it up for this. This would have basically been on like a 7-8 second cooldown at the moment, because the cooldown is 40 seconds if the attack, like if the Vuln doesn't connect. You would have basically had it up for this. I would have chilled again. You're right now, what you are doing is you are walking up to melee. Like you have no way to close this distance really fast unless you want to swoop. But swooping into this is kind of awkward because the enemy's just gonna, it's very easy for them to see you coming. And they could just like create even more distance, and then you still have no way to like close the distance to connect any damage. So what I would have done instead is, like, your pet swap's coming up, you basically broke combat because you're so far away from mid. I would just pet swap to smoke scale and then be on longbow here, and I would just like go for like a point blank shot on the herald, maybe go for a rapid fire after, and then unleash the pet, F1 it to get it closer, and then unleash yourself so that you can smoke assault with your pet onto the herald. And that way, like, the combination of like the rapid fire plus the smoke assault might have been enough to peel the herald off your teammate, while hopefully your teammate kites to you. And then and then you have your swap back to Greatsword up, and then swap back to Drake up if the herald decides to contest 1v2 in roads against you and a herald for whatever reason. I don't know why they would do that either, but that would basically be the follow-up there. Yeah, so you get some good damage off there. It was helped a lot by your teammate's stun. Now, you saw the Facet of Light briefly on the bar here, and if you haven't seen a Herald glint heal yet, you don't go for the kill unless they just swap to Shiro, and they likely still have their phase traversal up. So again, if you haven't seen their glint heal up, don't go for like a full burst, because more often than not, they will just pop that. So you actually got them very low, and then you heal them back up to 50%. And then instead of stowing everything, you go for a knockdown. The knockdown doesn't deal damage. That's fine. But then... Hold on. Does your pet auto attack here? The knockdown? And then it autos. So that auto healed him from 51% to 62, I believe. Unless your teammate hit him as well. No, it's literally... it's just your pet. So you healed him another 10% there by not calling your pet back. The point blank shot there is fine. You knock him off node. You're getting some ticks on the decap. This is a fine barrage there. And you got decap. So I don't know if you timed you walking off the node or with when you went to get the decap, but you actually don't need to walk up here. This person's not behind line of sight yet. The knockback is good. Now I would likely barrage off to one side. Barraging directly on top of them is fun because it means like whatever direction they go, they're basically walking through the same amount of barrage. But here you have to think about like where the herald's going to kite to. What you could have done instead, so this barrage here is good. I would have also barraged. However, I wouldn't have done it at the same time as you. After the point blank shot, I would wait to see which direction the herald's going. So if the herald immediately is starting to shift to the right, you should position your barrage to cut off the direction they're moving in. It doesn't even have to hit them. Maybe you can clip them at the end, at the very like end of the barrage, but have it like hit them behind line of sight so that like you can just stay on the node and keep DPSing them if they decide to go behind line of sight. And this way you force them out into the open so you can just shoot them for free. Now, because you wasted your port into the shelter, you don't have port to kill the herald here. So he dodges once, then goes into staff 5, then dodges with phase traversal, and then so he'll have another dodge up. Ideal port time. You could immediately port in and kill this person if you hadn't used your phase traversal at mid. You could have also waited until after the sword 3. That's fine timing as well. This person ends up going down. Okay, that suit wasn't good either. Yeah, you didn't get the full cap on this. Yeah, that's not good because this person gets the node before you and will get a tick on the decap. You could have taken a 2v1 on your cap, and instead it is a 2v1 on a neutral node because you kind of jumped the gun early and went for a swoop there. Hold on, let me see the damage combo here. The maul misses, smoke assault, and you unleash the pets and use some unleash skills. So you actually cast your takedown there too. Smoke assault and a takedown and then merge. So you get the extra conditions, that's fine. This person hasn't stun broken yet. You hit the ambush, your teammate knocks him down. Great shot ambush, pet swap into chomp. Good combo. But bash to follow up the staff 5 is good. Now, okay, so the timing on that was a little weird. I don't think you did this on purpose. You actually got lucky that you didn't hilt bash them before the staff 5 was done. So, like, that is extremely narrow timing. In fact, the staff 5 wasn't even done. The staff 5 just pushed the blade sworn out of the path of the rest of the staff 5. Because if that staff, if your herald had aimed the staff 5 better and had gone, let's say, just straight through the blade sworn, that hilt bash would have hit. And look, the staff 5 is still going. So it would stun them for like not even like a tenth of a second. And then the staff 5 would immediately take them out of the stun. You're running farsighted, so you don't get the extra stun duration anyways from the build you sent me. But yeah, that's not ideal. You actually got lucky that right when you hit the hilt bash is when the blade sworn was out of the staff 5 range. That knockdown was good. This knockdown's good. Now you could have waited until, like, if they had traveled along the full path, you just wait until the staff 5, like the last knock ends, and that's when you land the hilt bash towards the very end of the staff 5 animation. So you can extend the CC. Going from maul into tail swipe here. Good combo. Did you maul? Okay, yeah, the maul hit, and then go for the tail swipe. Yeah, I mean, you're revealed right now. The longbow 3 doesn't really do anything. I'm pretty sure they cast on my mark on you. Yeah, you have full on you from the on my mark. So the stealth isn't going to go off. You actually don't even need to stealth stomp warriors. You only have to really do that if there's like a team fight going on. And like you kind of just don't want to be like hit by a targeted interrupt. Instead, what you do is you literally just like position yourself behind the pet here. Because if they go for the downstate 2 knockdown, it just hits your Drake and you don't actually get knocked down.
Be ready to give the signal. And return fire
So
once
going
the
for full cap
cannons
here
are
is
loaded.
fine. You would have had this like how many seconds sooner? So the score is basically what,
And
like
return fire.
322 right now. What time did the warrior get here? Yeah, okay, that's 20 seconds basically, where 20 more points your team could have had if you had just finished capping the node before swooping away here. So instead of being at 320, you would be at like 342.
Return fire once the cannons are loaded.
Okay, now cannons are coming up, and then you stand in between the two nodes. Your teammates wipe mid. You're actually okay. I don't like positioning here. Your teammates are 4v1ing mid. This is a one fight. The enemy is basically going to be pushing into 4 people. You need to stay closer to far right now because they have respawns. No one's splitting off to decap your home. You need to stay like here. Like you want to be within swoop range of the node before you get decapped. You saying here doesn't really do much, but like to make it even worse, you actually just drop off the edge here. So if the enemy like came off respawn and was like just about to get on the node right now, you don't need, not only like do you not see them because your camera's not panning that direction, but you wouldn't even be able to get there in time. And if maybe you could, maybe if they were like a bit slow or like they were coming later and they were like maybe like here, you would have to like swoop and commit your teleport, which may not be in range. See, so this is what I would have done. I would have just played closer to far to match respawns here because your teammates were at mid. So you're the closest person to match far. This is how you keep a 3 cap. And then let like your teammates go to contest Bell because, you know, you're watching this node. Maybe some people want to stay in between the two nodes or like block people off from getting to cannon. And then one person that's not you because you're the closest to far goes to cannon. That would be a better rotation there.
Cannons loaded. Ring the bell to signal them to fire.
But you don't need to be double capping that, so you leave. That is good.
We heal as one. There. Target identified.
Okay, this was the best. That was the best opener. Oh, never mind. So it's still kind of scuffed because you started in Drake. But the rapid fire into Smoke Assault was best, like one of the better openers I've seen you use this game.
Red team, ring the bell. Fire all cannons.
Yeah, your teammates quickly pick that up. That's fine. It's kind of weird jumping puzzle stuff going on here.
Red team, ring the bell. Fire all cannons.
Yeah, man. This game's pretty much won anyways. Let's just fast forward to the end. You guys win the game.
Victorious.
See the scoreboard. Yeah, I mean, the one death was preventable this game. 10 kills is okay. The damage is kind of on the lower side. So, I mean, on a damage build like Untamed, you should be regularly pushing like at least 300k a game, all the way up to like 500, 600k, especially on like a team fight map like this. Now, if you're quickly wiping kills everywhere and just like ending fights in like 20 seconds or less consistently over and over again for the entire match, yeah, the damage might be lower because you're not taking extended fights, but that really wasn't happening on this map. And that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed this VOD review of Popoloko's Power Untamed. If you learned something, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and share with your friends. This was a bit different than the normal videos I do, so if you found this helpful, make sure you let me know if you want to see more like this in the future. If you want to see more from my channel, click the links here, and I'll see you in the next one.